Alright, in this video we're going to take a look at the book Lansky Brothers, Clothier to the King, about the legendary Lansky Brothers clothing department store in Memphis that clothed Elvis his entire adult life. Mr. Lansky here photographed with Elvis, knew Elvis as a teenager, and supplied all of his personal wardrobe, or the majority of his personal wardrobe, most of his life. Now the first thing I want to do is get some errors out of the way. This page here, it says that this is Elvis in the early 60s, and you're taking a look at there at Elvis, that's clearly not the early 60s, and you flip to this page here and it's a picture taken on the same exact visit, and it says here this is in 1957, so that's a little bit of issue with the book, is some of the accuracy with dates. But let's take a look inside the book with that behind us. This is a very large book. It's very hard to get into the whole frame. It's a coffee table sized book. It's huge. The paper is nice and thick. It's very well done. Very old pictures of Beale Street, Lansky Brothers clothing store, shown multiple different times through the years. Mr. Lansky with Elvis again in that same visit, 1957. Nick Adams, and Mr. Lansky and his son in a recent photo in their store at the Peabody Hotel in Memphis. And a nice portrait of Mr. Lansky with the Elvis fashion book. It's very hard to get this whole book in the picture again, but once again, there's multiple photos of Lansky Brothers store through the years, showing different cars outside, different displays outside, different signage on the building. A lot of history of Lansky Brothers and Beale Street. A lot of vintage old photos inside the store throughout the different years. It's very interesting. And then Elvis comes along, and they talk about style and fashion, and another shot of the building here, a color photo. And then Elvis comes into the picture, and they describe his clothing style and what he liked to wear. This was an advertisement that Elvis was involved in with Lansky Brothers, which is kind of nice, kind of interesting to see. And then they show various photos of Elvis that are familiar to a lot of fans that may or may not know that he's wearing Lansky clothing in the photo. So they'll point out a specific photo and what he's wearing from the Lansky store, the Lansky line, clothing that was specifically designed for Elvis with him in mind. And there's also somewhere in this book is stitching that went into his clothing that said specifically designed for Elvis Presley, which is, oh, there it is right there, which is pretty cool. Styled for Elvis Presley, right there, with a crown with a needle through it. Clothier to the King. And this is Elvis here in the Lansky Brothers store with Mr. Lansky's son, who now runs the store, and he signed my copy. That's this gentleman from earlier in the book. Here, same guy with Elvis as a young man. He said he was about 5 years old in that picture. And this is Elvis in the car in Audubon Drive that he gave to Mr. Lansky as a gift. And Elvis's closet, and more photos, live shots, live photos of Elvis wearing Lansky clothing. Then they show different movie studio shots of Elvis again wearing Lansky clothing. And the store moved throughout the years, and this is showing the different locations. Clothing in the 70s that was provided to Elvis. Not many photos of Elvis, or not any that we know of Elvis with the Lansky Brothers in the 70s, but he mentions them on stage in 1974 that I know of, and we've seen him a lot of times wearing Lansky clothing in the 70s. Right there, as a good example. This was the side of the building at one point for Lansky Brothers, and they had a mural painted there with Elvis popping up right there. And then they show you the current Lansky Brothers building inside the Peabody Hotel. Tell you a little bit about it, how to find it, and then some more vintage photos, vintage advertisements, and other celebrities that have shopped at Lansky Brothers. So there's a quick look at the Lansky Brothers clothing book. Definitely a good one to pick up if you get the chance to find a copy. And a look inside the current Lansky Brothers store. So there it is, Lansky Brothers, Clothier to the King.